Ya Eli, 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 Ya la la, Ya la la, Ya la la, Ya la la, La la.
Ya lai 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 lai. Ya lai la lai la lai. Ya lai la lai 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 lai. Ya la lai. Ya la lai. Ya la lai. Ya la lai lai la lai. Ya lai 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 lai. Let's try that all one more time. Ya lai la lai la lai. Ya lai la lai 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 lai. Ya la lai. Ya la la, ya la la, ya la la, ya la. Ya lai 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 lai. Just that part one more time. Ya lai 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 lai.
Last one. We don't want to hear you guys. Sing it out. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
It's great. Still sounds pretty good in here. You know, for those of you who are joining us from your homes or from your travels, we have folks who now, one of the great things with live streaming services, we have folks who join us from the Pacific Northwest, they join us from the Midwest, they join us from the East Coast, they join us at other times of the day and night in other parts of the world. That's great. I have to say to those of you who are not Californians and are worshiping with us tonight, it's cloudy and 72 today. That explains why we're a little lighter than usual in person. It means that more people are clicking the button saying, because in California, sunny and 72 is the expectation. And if we get cloudy and 72, it could rain. I'm being corrected. Excuse me. Mark has said that it's cloudy and 69.
Even colder.
This explains why people are here with their blankets, their earmuffs, their scarves, their puffy clothing. It's outstanding. We Californians are incredibly mighty of spirit, just not necessarily always of body. And so what I want to say, Glenn is, of course, bragging because he's here in his shorts. You know, I love it. What I want to say to all of you, the few, the proud, the mighty, you're here in these inclement conditions, 69 and cloudy. Way to go, you mighty worshipers tonight. And so we're delighted to have you with us. We're delighted to have all of you with us as well. And we are going to celebrate the sweetness of this Shabbat. Some people were asking me a little bit about Shabbat under the stars, our summer season. How long is this going to continue? Well, our custom is for it to continue as much as possible, unless the weather makes it impossible, to continue all the way through Rosh Hashanah. And so again, next week, following week, of course, will be a little bit too big to fit out here. So we'll be in our main sanctuary for Erev Rosh Hashanah, exactly 2 weeks from tonight. A week later, it is Shabbat Shuvah, the special Shabbat that is situated between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. And many of you know that actually it's going to be 25 years this year. 25 years. Richard Marks, who's here with us tonight, delivers the sermon on Shabbat Shuvah. It is a magnificent experience. If any of you have not experienced it before, it's, you know, a lot of synagogues, that Shabbat in between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur is kind of an off-peak night. We've been having a lot of synagogue. I could take that Friday off. This is the one place where it's packed on the Friday of Shabbat Shuvah to experience Richard's teachings. And so that will be taking place also at 7:30 here in our outdoor chapel. That will really be the home stretch. Then we're going to do a little thing that's unique. Rabbi Bernie and I had a discussion about this week. The following Friday night is actually the arrival of Sukkot. Sukkot, you're supposed to be outdoors, right? So a little bit of a modification on the theme. Dinner in the temple sukkah. This is now Friday, September 29th. So I'm preparing you for every single Friday in the month of September at this point. Friday, September 29th, dinner in the sukkah, service for the last time. And the whole idea is on Sukkot, you're supposed to feel the elements. So if in fact it is cold and dark, that's intentional. We're supposed to be actually feeling our vulnerability against whatever it is God dials up for us in terms of the weather. And so throughout this month, with the exception of September 15th, there of Rosh Hashanah, we're going to be right here at 7:30 p.m. for services. And I look forward to celebrating that with all of you. In the meantime, we want to celebrate simply the gift of our being here with one another. And so if you'll turn to page 10 in the prayer book, top of the page, you will find the familiar words of the psalmist. A way for us to express our gratitude for being together. Hinei ma tov u'manaim shevet achim gam yachad. How good, how pleasant it is for us in this 69 and cloudy weather to enjoy each other's company. Hinei ma tov u'manaim shevet achim gam yachad. Hinei ma tov u'manaim shevet achim gam yachad. Hinei ma tov u'manaim shevet achim gam yachad. Hinei ma tov u'manaim shevet achim gam yachad.
How good it is.
How good it is.
How sweet it is.
How sweet it is to be together on this day.
How good it is.
How good it is.
How sweet it is.
How sweet it is to be together on this day. Hinei ma tov u'manaim shevet achim gam yachad. Hinei ma tov u'manaim shevet achim gam yachad.
Shevet achim.
Shevet achim gam yachad.
One more time.
Shevet achim gam
yachad. So for me, the month of September has always felt, I've been much more aware of the fact that we're in this time of change. When it hits September, for some reason, like summer is definitely over, for me at least. And I'm in this time of reflection and change and newness and all these things that are coming. And I'm obviously going through a lot of changes and recognizing the gifts that are about to come, right? The change that's about to come to my life, to my family's life, to so many of you all who are probably also experiencing so many different things in your lives that September just feels like that moment to embrace that change, right? Whether it's because we're going into the holidays or because it just feels like the beginning of a new period of your life with kids going to school. And so I think 2 weeks ago, I shared a poem from this beautiful book that we will be using next weekend and I believe the week after, which is for Slichot and for the month of Elul. And there's a poem entitled Coming Up on September, which I know we will read also next week or the week after. But it really is an opportunity to embrace this month of change, this month of newness. So it's called Coming Up on September by Marge Piercy. White butterflies with single black finger paint eyes on their wings dart and settle, eddy and mate over the green tangle of vines in Labor Day morning steam. The year grinds into ripeness and rot, grapes darkening, pears yellowing, the first Virginia creeper twinning crimson, the grasses dry straw to burn. The new year rises, beckoning across the umbrellas on the sand. I begin to reconsider my life. What is the yield of my impatience? What is the fruit of my resolve? I turn from my frantic white dance over the jungle of productivity, and slowly, a nigun slides cold water down my throat. I rest on a leaf spotted red. Now is the time to let the mind search backwards like the raven loosed to see what can feed us. Now, the time to cast the mind forward, to chart an aerial map of the months. The new year is a great door that stands across the evening, and Yom Kippur is the second door. Between them are song and silence, stone and clay pot to be filled within myself. I will find there both ripeness and rot, what I have done and undone, what I must let go with the waning days, and what I must take in. With the last tomatoes, we harvest the fruit of our lives. We continue in our books on page 13, the last paragraph on the bottom of page 13, Yismechu Hashamayim.
Yalalai lai lai, yalalai lai lai, yalalai lai 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 lai, yalalai lai lai, yalalai lai lai. Yala lai lai la lai 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 lai. Yala lai lai la lai. Yala lai lai la lai. Yala lai lai la lai lai la lai lai la lai. Yala lai lai la lai. Yala lai lai la lai. Yala lai lai la lai 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 lai. Yismechu Hashamayim. V'tagel haaretz, yiram hayam, umelo, yismechu hashamayim, v'tagel haaretz, yiram hayam, umelo. Yala la 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 la, yala la 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 la, yala la 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 la, yala 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 la 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 la, yala la la, yala la 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 la. Yala lai lai la lai 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 la lai lai. Yismechu Hashamayim, v'tagel haaretz, yiram hayam, umelo. Yismechu Hashamayim, v'tagel haaretz, yiram hayam, umelo. Yala lai lai la lai, yala lai lai la lai, yala lai lai la lai lai la lai lai la lai, yala lai lai la lai, yala lai lai la lai, yala lai lai la lai 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 lai, yala lai lai la lai, yala lai lai la lai. Yala lai lai la lai lai la lai lai la lai. Yala lai lai la lai. Yala lai lai la lai. Yala lai lai la lai 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 lai. If you'll turn to page 20, there we will join together in singing L'Chadodi, welcoming the Sabbath bride. Yalla la 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 l'chadodi, yalla la 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 l'grad gala, yalla la 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 b'nei Shabbat l'kavela, yalla la 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 l'chadodi, יאללה לה 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 לקראת גאלה, יאללה לה 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 בני שבת, בני שבת נקבלה. שמור וזכור בדיבורך, השמיענו אל המיוחד, אדוני אחד ושמו אחד, לשם ולתפארת ולתהילה. יאללה לה לה לך דודי, יאללה לה 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 לקראת גאלה, יאללה לה 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 בני שבת, בני שבת תקבלה. לקראת שבת לכו ולכה, כי מקור הברכה מראש מקדם נסוכה, סוף מעשה במחשבה תחילה. יאללה לה לה לך דודי, יאללה לה 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 לקראת גאלה, יאללה לה 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 בני שבת, בני שבת תקבלה. Top of 21. התעוררי, התעוררי, כי באורך קומי אורי, אורי אורי, שיר דברי, כבוד אדוני עלייך נגלה. יאללה לה לה לך דודי, יאללה לה 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 לקראת גאלה, יאללה לה 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 בני שבת, בני שבת תקבלה. If you're able, I invite you to stand at this time and face the entrance to our outdoor chapel as we sing the final verse, bottom of page 21. We imagine the bride entering in all of her beauty. Boi v'shalom, ateret ba'ala, gam b'simcha ובצולה, תוך אמוני עם סגולה, בואי חלה, בואי חלה. יאללה לה לה לך דודי, יאללה לה 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 לקראת גאלה, יאללה לה 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 בני שבת, בני שבת תקבלה. יאללה לה 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 לך דודי, יאללה לה 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 לקראת גאלה, יאללה לה 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 בני שבת, בני שבת תקבלה. Baruch Hu is found on page 28.
la 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 la, ya 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 la 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 la. Barechu et Adonai HaMevorach.
Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Le'olam va'ed, Le'olam va'ed. Ya la 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 la, 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 ya la 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 la. You'll turn the page to the bottom of 31. Cantor already brought to our attention how this arrival at the month of September, arrival at the month of Elul, this final month of the Jewish year, the arrival close, just 2 weeks away, of a brand new Jewish year, the fall harvest festival of Sukkot that follows right after, all of these awarenesses of the change going on within us and around us and between us at all times. And so in celebration of the ways in which that is matched by the wonders, the natural wonders of the world, we have these words found at the bottom of page 31. Let us salute, notice, and express our gratitude for all of this change. Together, this is an hour of change. Within it we stand uncertain on the border of light. Shall we draw back or cross over? Where shall our hearts turn? Shall we draw back, my brother, my sister, or cross over? This is the hour of change, and within it we stand quietly on the border of light. What lies before us? Shall we draw back, my brother, my sister, or cross over? Baruch atah Adonai Hama'ariv Aravim. At the bottom of page 33, in celebration of the gift of Torah. Wisdom and wonder, passion and instruction, story and symbol, all these things your Torah gives to us. And the more we devote ourselves to it, the more it grows and gives. What could be a truer token of your abiding love than this holiest of your works and the living language that gives it form? Baruch atah Adonai Ohev Amo Yisrael. I am here, I am now, asking when, asking how. Only I, only thou, only one.
Fill my heart, fill my soul. I am part of this whole. I would sing out my soul to the one.
Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Adonai Echad. Shem Kivon, Shem Kivon, Malchuto, Leolam, Leolam, Vaed. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai, Adonai, Echad.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך, ודיברת בם, בשבתך בביתך, ובלכתך בדרך, ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אדוני אלוהיכם אמת.
In a few moments, we'll join together in our song of liberation, Michamocha, which can be found in the prayer book on page 40. We're always looking to get inside that experience that this song first emerged from, right? That experience of the parting of the seas and the walking through on dry land, and this incredible feeling of being overcome by the miraculous all around us. Also, really sensing, tasting, feeling viscerally inside us what it means to be liberated, what it means to be free. Those Israelites surely had to feel the profundity of the difference between, talk about change, between the bondage they had known for hundreds of years and that moment, which was really the first moment that they knew what it would feel like, what it would be like, or at least began to imagine, hope about, and fear about being free. So here are some words designed to help us get inside that constant journey that we are on, trying to experience liberation. We are ourselves not free in so many ways, most of the ways in which we create our own enslavements and lock ourselves out from the true liberation that we wish to experience. This month of Elul is supposed to be devoted to excavating that experience, trying to understand how we might become freer from ourselves in this new year, 5784, soon to come. Also, we have the new year itself, the holidays, the Amim Noraim, those days of awe, those days of a deep kind of fear, the awesomeness of what it is to really try to emerge into a liberated self. Not so easy to do. The words that I'm about to share, some pieces of them may already feel familiar to you because they've popped up in all kinds of different sources, but they're traced back, attributed to Nelson Mandela, actually, in his inaugural speech, after talk about a person who knew what it was like for the longest time to be fully unliberated, and then from that moment of greatest liberation, shared the following. Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? Your playing small does not serve the world. There is nothing enlightening about shrinking so that other people won't feel insecure around you. We were born to make and manifest the glory that is within us. It is not just in some of us, it is in everyone. And as we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. As we liberate our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others. Let this be the liberation from bondage that we experience on this Shabbat, in this new week soon to come, in this new year soon to come.
Who is like you? Adonai. Who is like you? Adonai. Ya la la la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la. Mi kamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nehedar b'kodesh, nora tehilot, oseh pele, nora tehilot, oseh pele. Who is like you? Adonai. Who is like you? Adonai. Ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la la, ya la 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 la. La 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 la, la 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 la. For so many of us, change can be really, really scary. And in those times when we're scared, when we're afraid, when we're trying to figure out where to go next, we have this incredible opportunity to ask God for safety, for protection. Whether we're by ourselves or we're in this amazing, wonderful community, we can feel that safety and that protection when we get a chance to recite our Hashkivenu. We invite us to welcome in this community, this safety, this protection as we embark on a lot of change. Hashkivenu can be found on your supplements at the bottom right side of the page. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu Lishalom, Lishalom, V'ha'amidenu Malkeinu L'chaim, Ufros Aleinu Sukat Shlomecha, Ufros Aleinu Sukat Shlomecha. Amen. Shelter us beneath thy wings, O Adonai. Guard us from all harmful things, O Adonai. God wrong from right. Amen. Amen.
If you'll turn to page 46, and please rise as you are able.
Adonai Svatai Tiftach. Adonai Svatai Tiftach. Ufi Agim Tehilatecha. Ufi Agim Tehilatecha. Adonai Svatai Tiftach. Adonai Svatai Tiftach. Ufi Agim Tehilatecha. Ufi Agim Tehilatecha. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei Avoteinu v'Imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, v'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, v'Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, וקונה הכל, וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימהות, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה, מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן. ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם ועזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי הכל אתה, רב להושיע, מוריד הטל, מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיי הכל ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות ומי דומה לך, מלך ממית ומחיה
ומצמיח ישועה, ונאמן אתה להחיות הכל. ברוך אתה אדוני, מחיי הכל. אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, וקדושים בכל יום יהללוך סלה. ברוך אתה אדוני, האל הקדוש.
Our Amidah continues in silence through page 62. You can feel free to remain standing or to be seated whenever you're ready. This is a season of intentional change, but there's plenty of change going on around us, much of which we would not choose. It is hard to steady ourselves alongside that change, not to feel completely destabilized by it. This morning I wrote to the congregation. Many of you had probably had the opportunity to read the words talking about this week's Torah portion, how the very first words of the portion are about when we arrive in the promised land. Doesn't say if, doesn't say we hope to, doesn't say if things happen to go well. We might end up in that place of promise, and they had so many reasons to doubt. You think we have it bad. There was a whole lot of uncertainty, and they knew that it was a great battle that awaited them. And yet, ki tavo, when we arrive. Leaning into that kind of confidence is not an easy thing, especially when you're really not feeling it. And so we're here tonight to create Shabbat with one another, to feel the cessation from the world worrying around us, to have just this one little oasis in time, to set all those other concerns aside, to strengthen our spirits so that we can become a part of shifting from if to when we weather these times of great challenge, interpersonally, here in this country, in our people's ancient home of Israel, and in so many troubled corners of the world. So many generations before us have faced times at least this perilous, and we're still here. Gives me reason to believe that it's not pie in the sky or Pollyannish for us to believe that we possess the same kinds of human gifts that made it possible all those other times to transcend what felt impossible in those moments, just as this moment has its own impossibilities for us. Moving from fear to hope is an act of love. Let us summon that greater love that is all around us. Some of us call God. A greater love that can help us to banish the fear, or at least to press it back far enough for us to become agents of the change that is greater than the changes that are worrying around us. You say you see no hope. You say you see no reason we should dream that the world would ever change. You say love is foolish to believe, 'cause there'll always be some crazy with an army or a knife to wake you from your daydream, put the fear back in your life. Look, if someone wrote a play just to glorify what's stronger than hate, would they not arrange the stage to look as if the hero came too late, as if he's almost in defeat? So it's looking like the evil side will win, and on the edge of every scene, from the moment that the whole thing begins, it is love who mixed the mortar. It was love who stacked these stones, and it's love who made the stage here, though it looks like we're alone in some scene set in shadows, like the night is here to stay. There is evil cast around us, but it's love that wrote this play, so that in this darkness love can show the way. Where else but in this world today to show the way? Show the way. So now your stage is set. You feel your own heart beating in your chest. This life's not over yet. So we get up on our feet and do our best. We play against the fear. We play against the reasons not to try. We're praying for the tears burning in the happy angel's eyes. For it's love who mixed the mortar. It's love who struck these stones. And it's love who made
stage here, though it looks like we're alone in this scene set in shadow, like the night is here to stay. There is evil cast around us, but it's love that wrote this play, so that in this darkness love can show the way. Show the way. Show the way.
So some of you know that I began my rabbinic career not here at Leobeck Temple, but working at a congregation in suburban New York City, Scarsdale. And I remember those early years of my career with great affection. I recall how every single year at this season, the Jews of my synagogue would gather together en masse with a sense of anticipation and awe. We called it the U.S. Open Tennis Tournament. Yes, a few non-Jews were known to join our congregation there as well. We, as a synagogue, believed very strongly in fostering a supportive interfaith community at Congregation Beit National Tennis Center. But regardless of who was there watching, we reveled in how the tournament does, at times, offer drama of biblical proportions. A favorite story of mine from those years long ago. Those of you who are big tennis fans, as I am, may remember a match for the ages that was played by, this is over 20 years ago, so you're well forgiven even if you're a tennis fan for not remembering. But this was a match for the ages played by all-time greats Pete Sampras and Andre Agassi. 4 sets, each set settled by a tiebreaker. So it was as close and as riveting as could be. One of those rare moments that immediately enters permanent U.S. Open lore, the kind of thing people buy a ticket every year hoping that they might see just one time. Now, this took place in the quarterfinals. This was a Wednesday night late in the tournament, and lo and behold, I had a buddy who was there that night, and I could not wait to ask him about it. So tell me, I asked, what was it like? Well, you wouldn't believe it, he tells me. The match ran on all the way until 12:45 in the morning, and practically the entire crowd stayed until it was all over. And so it's 1:30 a.m., and there I am, sitting stuck in traffic like it's rush hour, and I've got to be at work early the next morning. That's how it was? I asked. Well, yeah, the match was great, but what a drag to be falling asleep at the wheel at 1:30 in the morning. What a drag, I thought, to remember the traffic more than anything else after this magical night of athleticism. But if you think about it, he did, in fact, answer my question. I'd simply asked what it was like that night. And he told me. He just told me the part that I didn't want to hear about, the part that I figured he would rather not think about. But I guess I figured wrong. Sometimes it is easy to get lost in the unpleasant details and to make them the story. It is something that we all do from time to time. This week's Torah portion, Ki Tavo, teaches us to operate a little bit differently. See, the portion opens with a command to the ancient Israelites who are preparing to enter and settle the promised land. And the command is to collect the first fruits of the land once they make that land their own, and to offer them to God while making a statement of gratitude. That statement is found in verses 5 through 10 in chapter 26 of the book of Deuteronomy, and it goes like this. You shall then recite as follows before the eternal your God. You have your ears open for something that may sound familiar. My father was a fugitive Aramean. He went down to Egypt with meager numbers and sojourned there. But there he became a great and very populous nation. The Egyptians dealt harshly with us and oppressed us. They imposed heavy labor upon us. We cried to the Eternal, the God of our ancestors, and the Eternal heard our plea and saw our plight, our misery and our oppression. The Eternal freed us from Egypt by a mighty hand, by an outstretched arm, by an awesome power, and by signs and portents, bringing us to this place and giving us this land, a land flowing with milk and honey. Wherefore I now bring the first fruits of the soil, which you, Eternal One, have given me. Sound familiar? Very good. A few of you are catching on. At least the part before that last sentence about the first fruits should sound vaguely familiar because we recite these words every year, not only on their assigned week in the Torah reading cycle, as we're doing tonight, but also at our Passover Seders. That is in every Haggadah, whether you're using the Maxwell House or one of the newfangled ones. I promise you it's there. You might skip it, but I promise you, well, you shouldn't skip it. It's from the Torah, but it's in there for sure. This is the way that we retell our history, with this wonderful tribute to God that I just read. There's only one problem with this very beautiful account. The problem is that that is not the way it happened. Anybody who is even vaguely familiar with biblical literature can very quickly see what is missing. So somebody tell me, did God just, quote, bring us to this place and give us this land? Is that the way it went? Not so much. We had to fight for it with everything we had. This was no gift wrap package from God. We took possession of the promised land through hard-fought battle. Now, the first instinct, if you ask me, is to accuse those who edited the Hebrew Bible and passed it along to us of trying to cleanse the story, so to speak. Sort of a biblical 18.5-minute gap, if you were, on the tape. Or if you prefer to be more contemporary, a burning of the documents that contain the story, or a flushing of the story down the toilet, perhaps. Maybe this is an effort to make our ancestors look nicer, less violent and combative than they actually were. But that doesn't make any sense, because the Bible does not exactly skimp on the gory details connected with our acquiring the promised land. The events are all foreshadowed in the book of Deuteronomy, and more importantly, they are chronicled with great precision as the story continues. You see, we all know that the Torah contains how many books? 5 of them, the 5 books of Moses. Does anybody know what the 6th book in the Hebrew Bible is called? The book that follows right after Deuteronomy in the Hebrew Bible. What's it called? Book of? Good guessing. The book is known as the Book of Joshua. The Book of Joshua, who you may recall, is the successor to Moses. He's the one who's charged with the responsibility of being commander-in-chief for the Israelite armed forces as they enter Canaan. Now, there are plenty of biblical scholars who feel that it really should have been the 6 books of Moses. That the book of Joshua is much more logically connected to the books that precede it than to the books that follow it. These academics refer to the 6 books as the Hexateuch. Now, you may have heard the term Pentateuch before as a way of describing the 5 books of Moses. Hexateuch just changes the grouping from 5 to 6 books. And the argument, of course, is that the book of Joshua is where God's promise is finally realized. And the 5 books are all about the promised land, getting to it. Well, when does it actually happen? It doesn't happen in Deuteronomy. In the Torah, we never get to see the people enter the land. It's only in the book of Joshua that we see that. And they arrive there in the promised land. And so these scholars argued the story is not finished until the 6th book is added. Now, I, for one, am greatly relieved that the Jewish tradition did not see its way clear to adding the book of Joshua to the Torah. It is quite simply the bloodiest book in the entire Bible. 8 full chapters devoted to nothing but our ancestors wreaking absolute havoc on the Canaanites, all throughout the land. Story after story of carnage wrought by our own people, ambush attacks, the burning of cities to the ground, hangings, mass murders. It is not a pretty picture. And personally, when I think about my work with our B'nai Mitzvah students, I can hardly imagine what I'd say to our 13-year-olds when they came into my office with their drafts of their bar mitzvah devar Torah, bat mitzvah devar Torah speech. The main lesson in my Torah portion is that if you think something should belong to you and somebody else has it, and you think God wants you to have it, you can always just beat the bejesus out of whoever has it. This would be happening at bar and bat mitzvahs across the world if the book of Joshua was in the Torah. Fortunately, the book of Joshua is not in the Torah. It is, however, in the Hebrew Bible, and its words make it perfectly clear. The declaration found at the beginning of this week's Torah portion is missing a little bit of information. But this is certainly no attempt at whitewashing the behavior of the Israelites. The blood-stained narrative is all right there for us to see. Open up your Bible. You can't miss it. So why not mention the battles won when thanking God with the offerings of the first fruit? Well, if you ask me, there is a really good reason to leave the stories of conquest out. It's worth leaving them out simply because they're ultimately not really the story. Yes, they must be remembered and told. It would be dishonest, immoral, even dangerous to sweep the blood under the table. But when it comes to passing down a legacy, an identity to the people of Israel, the story is of a people trusting in a journey, led by a promise we continue to work to fulfill, to be worthy of, and by our ongoing gratitude to God for both the wonders and the moral responsibilities that come with self-determination. And focusing only upon the war, well, that would be like focusing on the 1:30 a.m. traffic jam in Queens after watching a tennis match for the ages. It happened, but it's not the part of the story that ought to define our memories of the moment. If the Torah encouraged us to focus upon our military triumphs in Canaan, the story would be about our power and greatness, not God's. It would open the door for future generations to miss the point, as frankly some actually do, to glorify our own military might, to forget about the special covenant we are called to shape with our God, a covenant that enables us to touch the sacred. That is the story of the Torah. And telling it requires us to choose carefully what will rest at the center of our memories. Like most achievements in our lives, like most relationships in our lives, the experience of taking hold of the promised land was complicated. There were moments that lifted the spirit. There were moments that challenged and even degraded the spirit. But what better lesson could there be for us as we approach these coming days of awe than the one found in this Torah portion, to tell our real stories, refraining from letting the distasteful episodes within them overwhelm what truly matters most, become what matters most. Each one of us, I'm sure, can think of a fractured relationship or two in which we have chosen to focus upon the 1:30 a.m. traffic jam instead of the magic, to focus upon the blood spilled instead of the promise fulfilled. Incredibly, we willingly allow ourselves to be consumed too often by that something that was or wasn't said, by what was or wasn't done, and all the while the real story, the story of love or of friendship or of trust or of hope for a second chance. The real story is disappearing behind this dark curtain of footnotes. This is the time, this month of Elul. This is the time for examining those relationships, the ones about which we are telling only the worst part of the story, and changing directions, refocusing on the part that matters most. That is what we call forgiveness. Some of us have allowed our bonds with our spouses to be tarnished during this past year, dwelling on the annoying habits instead of the love that once brought us wholeness. Some of us have closed our hearts to our parents or to our children, remembering only the painful ruptures, neglecting the bond that is, by our tradition's definition, an expression of the highest holiness. Some of us have written off friends or co-workers who just might flourish with the gift of a fresh start. And for some of us, it is God who we have written off, telling the story of all God didn't do for us while remaining blind to all we should be thankful for. Blessedly, there is still time. The month of Elul, this month of Elul is not over. It's only half over. There is still time to shift our eyesight from the war to the wonder. There is still time to tell the story that matters most, instead of the one filled with the ugliness and the failure. Let us use these remaining days of the year 5783 to do as the ancient Israelites did. Let us remember the past in full, with honesty and integrity, but show the wisdom, the kindness, the maturity, the equanimity to tell the story that matters most. And may that act of grace lead us and the people with whom we share life back to blessing. Amen. With that call reverberating deep within us, many of you know that it is our custom during the month of Elul to hear the sound of the shofar. Glenn is going to join me, and we're going to hear the sound not all that differently than it will sound on Rosh Hashanah morning when we have multiple shofarot throughout our sanctuary, and the sound is literally surrounding us. Tonight, Glenn and I will sound the shofar, and I want to encourage you to take this moment as this sound sounds, as this sound is heard, a sound that is unique to this time of year, a sound that rips us open in ways that no other sound does, to allow yourself to plumb the depths of those stories in which you are telling only the worst part. Who is it with? In what corners of your life have you allowed the worst part of the story to become the entire story? And with the benefit of this sound awakening you and pushing you along, how might we be able, each one of us, to summon the full, true story and redeem it in the new year to come?
Tekiah, Shivarim, Trua, Tekiah Gedolah. We have a chance now. Our hearts are open. Our souls are open, hearing the sound of the shofar to, yes, Yasher Koach. You are really good at all, both of you. We have this chance now that our hearts are open, our souls are open to open those to people in our lives who are in need of healing, be it of body or of mind or of spirit. So if there is someone in your life that you're thinking of today that is in need of that love and that support and that healing, we invite you to share their names out loud with us today. And then we'll hold them all in our hearts and join together in our Mishaberach prayer. I'll start over here. So I'll take all of their names into our hearts as we join together on page 253 for the Mishaberach.
Mishaberach Avoteinu Mekor habracha Leimotenu. May the source of strength who blessed the ones before us help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Mishaberach Imotenu Mekor habracha Lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen.
Aleinu can be found at the bottom of page 282. Please rise as you are able.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא.
Page 287.
ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד, ושמו אחד, ושמו אחד.
Some words to help us prepare for the recitation of Kaddish, words found at the top of page 292. When cherished ties are broken and the chain of love is shattered, only trust and the strength of faith can lighten the heaviness of the heart. At times, the pain of separation seems more than we can bear, but if we dwell too long on our loss, we embitter our hearts and harm ourselves and those about us. The psalmist said that in his affliction, he learned the law of God. And in truth, grief is a great teacher when it sends us back to serve and bless the living. We learn how to counsel and comfort those who, like ourselves, are bowed with sorrow. We learn when to keep silent in their presence and when a word will assure them of our love and concern. Thus, even when they are gone, the departed are with us, moving us to live as in their higher moments they themselves wished to live. We remember them now. They live in our hearts. They are an abiding blessing. As we prepare to recite the Kaddish prayer this evening, we remember especially Lee Goldman, father of our congregant Ken Goldman, father-in-law of Meirav Goldman, and grandfather to Geffen and Emmett, whom death has taken from us in recent days. And we link his name with Max Aronson, Ken Bishop, Sheldon Block, Martin Bussell, Claire Bicel, Lillian Shermack, Josephine Diamond, Elaine Friedman, Barnett H. Gary, Temi Goldwasser, Lillian Goldwasser, Jenny C. Greatman, Terry Karp, Walter Keene, Daniel Lautman, Abraham Lipkin, Hazel Lofton, Frida Meltzer, Isidore Middleman, Bernice Newman, Ralph Perlman, Emil M. Ravden, Gloria Berkson Shaw, William E. Schmulian, Robert I. Babe Schrag, Benjamin Siegel, Daniel Trebish, Lucy Keen Van Elgort, Joanne Widzer, Dave Wolf, Milton Zeisman. Are there other names we should include? If so, please speak them aloud. We think as well of all those who we name in our hearts, along with those who have perished as victims of violence, innocent victims in a world torn by violence that we must lead to peace. Holding them all close at heart, we say Zecher Tzadik Livracha, the memory of the righteous is an everlasting blessing. As together we give thanks for the blessing of life with the words of Mourner's Kaddish, found on page 294. Please rise as you are able. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shemei Rabbah, ve'alma divrach hirutei ve'amlich malchutei, b'chayechon u'v'yomechon, u'v'chayei dechol Beit Yisrael, b'agala u'v'isman gariv imru amen. Yehi shemei Rabbah mevarach le'alam u'lalmei almaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitba'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yit'aleh v'yitalal, shemei dekudsha b'richu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, da'amiram be'alma v'imru, amen. Yehi shlama Rabbah min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru, amen. Oseh shalom b'imromav, u'ya'aseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'al kol yoshvei tevel v'imru, amen. May the giver of peace send peace to all who mourn and comfort to all who are bereaved among us. And let us together say, Amen. Amen. Oseh shalom b'imromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel, ve'imru, Oseh shalom b'imromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel, ve'imru, la 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 ya la la ya la 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 ya la la ya la la ya la la ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la la ya la 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 ya la la ya la la ya la la ve'imru amen ve'imru amen. Shabbat
Shabbat
shalom.
shalom.